Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a few artworks, but before I get into that I just want to do some quick updates. You may be aware that I have done a giveaway in my last video. Now I just want to say that the winners have been contacted. So if you entered, please check your email just to see, just in case. But yeah, that's really exciting and I should be able to send them off pretty soon. My next announcement is that I'm going to be trying to post more often from now on. I actually have a second video already filmed, so I'm going to be doing 2 videos in a week, and I'm really excited about that because that used to be my usual thing, but due to COVID and stuff I wasn't really able to post as often, but we're getting around that and I'm making a commitment. So anyways, art. The whole thing of this video, I'm actually going to be drawing dragons, but I'm going to be turning food into dragons. This is actually quite similar to a previous series that I have had on my channel where I drew a whole bunch of dragons and they were based off tea varieties. I absolutely love that concept. It was really fun to do. I kind of did stop doing them eventually because it kind of got a little bit boring after a while because there's only so many kinds of teas that you can turn into dragons, but we're not stopping with the character design aspect and of course my favorite mythical creature, dragons. Guess how many times I've said dragon in this video? I don't even know. But I thought it was an interesting twist to this time turn food into a dragon instead of a beverage, because that gives you a little bit more option. I'm actually going to be drawing 3 dragons in this video instead of 1, just because I really got into the idea and I just had so much fun, and when I drew 1 I just wanted to draw more and more, so I did 3. But yeah, the first one, as you can tell, is a pizza dragon, especially since this one is sort of in the thumbnail for the video. But this one was actually super fun to do. I had a lot of fun experimenting with that cheese texture. As you can see, I really wanted to go overboard with the cheese because what is pizza without cheese? I don't even know. Just bread with toppings. And I really wanted to give it that stretchy, messy sort of look that melted mozzarella has. Now I'm hungry. And I kind of went a little bit overboard, but I was just having so much fun. It was really enjoyable to sort of draw these messy, goopy sort of lines instead of like trying to draw a perfect dragon shape with like a perfect tapered, you know, swoopy tail. Instead, it's this sort of messy, sort of like goopy shape that I just really find satisfying to draw. Now I really had to think about what kind of toppings I put on this pizza. Now I am going to go with a little bit of a controversial choice here, and I am putting pineapple on this pizza dragon because pineapple belongs on pizza, and you're wrong if you think otherwise. It may not belong on your pizza, but it belongs on mine, okay? I like my pineapple. We also have mushrooms here on its belly area, as well as some ham on its tail, and of course some pepperoni on the sort of spines going down its tail. I thought that was a pretty cool touch. I had to really think about which toppings went where because I really didn't want like a big thick chunky topping on, you know, the thin tail. It would just stand out too much. So with that sort of thin ham shape, I really did think that that fit well on the tail. Now with the dragon's ears, I did a sort of rough shape in the early sketch, but later when I was doing the inking, I actually decided that was a pretty good shape for me to turn into garlic bread. And what's pizza without garlic bread? I love me some garlic bread. Now we're getting into the coloring section here, and this is where it really comes to life. I love coloring, especially on my iPad Pro. It's just so fun to do, and it's very satisfying to see your character or creature that you're creating turn into a sort of 3D object once you get all the lines and stuff down. It's really cool. I started off with some basic block colors here, and I actually used a different layer for each section. I'm not just coloring onto the line art layer because that's a big no-no. This method makes it a lot easier, especially when you're going into blending later on. And I'm just using your basic pizza colors here to color in this dragon because it's a pizza dragon. Now you can see some parts of the dragon, the underside is very dark red. I initially did that because it's like a pizza sauce, but I felt like it was just a little bit too dark for me. So I ended up changing it later on just because it looks a little bit too, I don't know, like blood or something like that, and I didn't like that. This is supposed to be a delicious pizza dragon that you want to eat. I don't know why you'd want to eat a dragon, but I want to eat this dragon. So now that we have pretty much all of the block colors down, I'm going to go in and start with some shading. I decided to start on the largest area of the dragon, and this is the cheese. Now this was actually one of the most fun parts for me to color in, especially with all the blending and stuff, because I had a lot of fun just making that sort of goopy texture that cheese is. It was really fun. I just went in with the airbrush and used a few different airbrush brushes and I just used like a mix of the really soft one and the medium hard airbrush, just to try and get some nice little shadows and highlights here and there, while also, you know, trying to give it a bit of shape. And it was really fun to just sort of see that part of the dragon come alive. Now we're going in here with some of the other textures for this dragon. As you can see, I've given the meat a bit more of a, you know, textural look, because, you know, meat has that. And I also went in with a bright yellow for the garlic bread to give it a bit of a butter look. I love garlic bread with lots of butter. Now last minute I decided to give those claws a bit of a green look to them, because they kind of looked a bit like green peppers. Now just to add a little bit of green elsewhere on this dragon, I decided to get a sort of leafy brush and just use it very subtly to give it a bit of a herb texture over the top of it. Now with a nice smoky sort of background, it really gives you that sort of wood-fired pizza feel. I really love this dragon. Now with this next dragon, I really wanted to give it a different feel to the first, because I really love sort of majestic, you know, flying, slightly aggressive looking dragons, but I also like drawing cute little round things as well. And for this dragon, I decided to do something adorable, something fuzzy and, you know, something you want to protect or eat, whichever one comes first. So this dragon, I wanted to give it a really cute little chibi look, and for that I decided on a cupcake for the food sort of inspiration. Because cupcakes are round, cute, little, and sort of, you know, pretty to look at, as well as delicious to eat. Now this body shape for this dragon actually took me quite a bit of experimentation. There was a few earlier iterations of this dragon which I'm not going to show because they are kind of ugly, and I really had to sort of push myself not to give this dragon a sort of long curly tail. I really had to shorten that tail quite a bit and give it these little nubbly legs as well. But I really like the look of it and I think it looks cute. Now for the wings of this little guy, I actually decided on folded cupcake wrappers. I really like that idea. I was actually googling cupcakes and I was just trying to look at different shapes that you could see in a cupcake and like trying to see how that would fit in a dragon shape. And wings were really hard for me to do because, you know, you don't really see winged cupcakes or cupcakes with like pointy parts on them. But I decided on a folded cupcake wrapper because it is a bit of a like a semicircle, and you could sort of, you know, fit that into maybe cute little fairy wings or something like that. But yeah, I think it works. Now with its body, I decided to give it a little bit of a lumpy texture, as you can see around its face and on its legs and on its round little body. And that's obviously because this little dragon is obviously made of cake. Now for the eyes, I decided to go in and give it eyelashes, which is not something I typically do for a dragon. I prefer more sort of reptile looking eyes instead of like cute little My Little Pony, you know, doll sort of eyes. But I think for this style it works pretty well. Now for the horns on top of its head, I actually decided on strawberries, and I decided this during the inking phase, which is a little bit of a risk because when you change things in the inking phase it doesn't really work out half the time. But this time it worked out, and I'm actually really glad I did that because it just looks really cute with these little strawberries sitting on top of its head later in the video. I am glad that I made that change. Now we're almost done here with the inking. I'm just going around the outside and solidifying some parts of the inking just to give it a little bit more shape. I really love the look of varied line art in my digital art and also my traditional art, and this is something I do quite often. So now is the time to color in this little cutie, and I actually wanted a bit more contrast with this, so I actually decided with chocolate for the cake section and the main body of this cute little dragon. And I actually really like the colors that I picked because it just has this little richness to it that just looks really cute. Now I actually used a paint water brush sort of texture to add this cake texture, which actually works really well because yeah, I like the texture on this. It looks like cake to me anyways. Now's the time to go into the icing section of this cupcake. Now as you can see, there is actually 2 different types of icing on this cupcake. It is quite fancy, and yeah, I just wanted to add a little bit more detail with that because I felt like it would look pretty cool, and I think it does. So we have this sort of more liquid saucy sort of icing here, and that is along its back and also on its head and ears just a little bit. And I really had a lot of fun adding the highlights to that and just making it look sort of drippy and fun. Now we have this other section of icing here, which is more of a buttercream. It is fluffy and light and quite swirly as well, and I really love the highlights and the shadows in there. I think I got the colors pretty good. Now after this, I added on some sprinkles. Now first I had it on the more fluffy icing, but I just didn't like the way that looked, and I felt like the fluffy icing really works well just by itself, so I decided to add those sprinkles onto the more liquid sort of icing, and I actually really like the way that they look. I just used your basic sort of inking brush to draw in those sprinkles. Nothing fancy really. I didn't want to go too full on with the sprinkles. They're just a nice little detail. Now I wanted to do something fun with the eyes on this dragon. I didn't want to just draw your basic dragon eyes because this is supposed to be made out of food. So I gave these eyes a bit of a blueberry look to them. As you can see, her eyes are blueberries. I don't know if she can see out them. I mean, she probably can if she isn't just food and if she is an actual dragon. I don't know. But I really like that aesthetic, especially adding in more purple into this artwork, as well as another fruit element. As you can see, we have the strawberries, now we have blueberries as well. Now we're colouring in those cupcake wrapper wings purple because I just love purple and I love the look of purple, especially with like browns and pinks. I just think it's a really nice aesthetic. Now for the background, I decided to give it a little bit of a sort of swirly look to it. Maybe it's like a swirly icing or yogurt or something behind. I don't know, but it was really fun for me to just use the liquify tool and some airbrush. And yeah, it looks pretty cool. After this, a nice crisp white outline around this dragon just to sort of set it off from the background and give it a little bit more contrast. And yeah, I really love this one. I think it's really cute and different. Now for this last dragon, I had a lot of trouble actually thinking of the type of food that I wanted to make into a dragon. The first 2 were sort of easy to think of, and the last one took me quite a bit to, come up with some inspiration. I knew I wanted to make another dragon for this video, but I just didn't know what. And then it came to me. I didn't want to do sort of just one food for this dragon. I want to do a little bit of a category for this dragon, but still have it fit together, like maybe you would eat all of these items together in the one meal. And that meal is the most important meal of the day. Yes, I am doing a breakfast dragon. How cool is that? So for this dragon, I actually decided to draw in a basic dragon shape and not really think too much about what foods were going to go where. And then after I got in that sort of sketch, I decided to go over the top with a little bit more of a refined sketch. And this is when I would experiment and try to add, breakfast food items in sections that would actually work. So as you can see, we have a lovely curly bacon tail. I was very proud of this one, especially since you don't really see any sort of long curly breakfast items. I don't know, but bacon worked really well, especially since you can sort of, curl it around because it's this strip of delicious meat. Also, for some strange reason, I decided to put an egg on top of this dragon's head just because I wanted to have an egg element in there because eggs are great. And yeah, it looks kind of funny just having this dragon with an egg on its head, but I honestly find it kind of cute and funny, especially since it has this sort of confused look on its face, like, why do I exist? I really love this dragon too because I tried to sort of blend the two different aspects of cute and cool looking together, and that actually has a really cool effect. I think it looks pretty cute, but also kind of epic. Now for its body, I was actually quite sneaky here and I decided to give it a waffle body, but it's not just any waffle, it's this sort of Japanese waffle which is called a taiyaki, and it is pretty awesome. It's basically this waffle in the shape of a fish, and they usually have like fillings and stuff in them, but I really love them because they're delicious, and also they have scales on them, so it worked pretty well for a dragon's body. I don't think it's cheating, I think it works. But yeah, drawing the bacon was actually quite a bit easier than I expected. I basically just drew this sort of swirly shape and made sure it looked like, you know, a flat object but curled around, and then I gave it lots of little lumpy bumps here and there and just basically drew some, you know, curly lines along it, and you got yourself some bacon. It's nothing fancy really, but it works. I think it works, especially when I color it in. Now I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do for the back legs of this dragon, and I didn't really do anything fancy with them. I felt like there was a lot of detail there, so I just sort of made them a bit of an extension of the body. But for the wings, now I'm really proud of this choice, and you can probably tell what I've made these wings, and they are pancakes. It was the best sort of thing that I could fit into that shape, and I think it works pretty well. Now as you can tell, the pancake wings, as strange as that is, doesn't really have that much detail with the line art, and that's because I felt like really giving the detail in the shading and the color phase. So I started off with some soft brown colors on the wings, and then I added in some light sort of yellowy tan colors to the edges and also where the sort of muscle part of the wing is. For the syrup on the wings, I basically just gave it a light brown color, and then I used a blend mode to make it transparent, and that actually worked pretty well. Now for the body, I used a slightly similar color as the lighter parts of the pancake, because pancakes and waffles are really quite similar, but I still changed it a little bit just to sort of make it look a bit separate. With those, I really tried to use the water brush as the texture. I really like the way that it looks. It kind of looks like fluffy or crispy sort of textures all over it, which really help. Now for some strange reason, I'm just really proud of that egg. I just think the colors in the yolk just really look accurate and bright, and the white parts of the egg, I used that same sort of textural brush to just give a slight crispiness around the egg, around the edge of the egg, and I think it looks really cool. The bacon was just really fun for me to draw because I basically just used two different shades of red and then a really sort of pale like beigey color for the fatty parts of the bacon, and when I added that textural brush over it, it just really looks kind of delicious. Like looking at that, I kind of really want to eat some bacon. I love bacon. Now for the horns on this dragon, it really took me a lot of thought to get something that was a similar shape. Now I could have just done something like an orange wedge, but I really wanted, you know, something different, something interesting, something really fit with a dragon. And of course I decided on dragon fruit because duh, dragon fruit. I also just really love the pop of color that it brings, because at first this dragon was looking quite similar to the pizza dragon in color, but once I added in the dragon fruit and also the kiwi fruit down below on its neck, it really did give a sort of difference to it, a bit more color and sort of individuality. Now for the background, I really had to think about this because I didn't know what I was going to do, and I decided on a bit of a tartan texture just because it would, you know, give the feeling of a breakfast table or something like that, and also tartan's just really fun to draw. After I got the rough shape down how I liked it, I went in and I basically transformed it and stretched it to give it a bit of a sort of perspective look to it, and I think it looks really cool, as if it's sort of sitting on top of a breakfast table ready to eat. These poor dragons, they've only just been born and yet they're gonna be prey. What a strange concept. I love this idea. Now of course I'm adding in that crispy white outline because I've done it on all of the other dragons, and I just think it really gives it a cool finished look, and I don't know, it just makes them stand out from the background really nicely, and I love it. Now once I add some shadows, this dragon is complete. So here is the final results of these dragons, and I absolutely love each and every one of them. I can't pick a favorite. I just really like them all for different reasons. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please comment below which one of these is your favorite and why. And yeah, I hope you all have a lovely day, and I will see you in my next video, which is very, very soon, within the week. Bye everyone.